Welcome to Takeaway with Sam Oches, a podcast for leaders of growing restaurant companies looking to take their businesses to the next level. In nearly 2 decades covering restaurants, I've gained access to some of the industry's most influential decision makers, and I'm letting you in on the conversations. In today's episode, you'll learn from a restaurant founder why you sometimes have to make a hard pivot on your product and your growth strategy, and why a brand reset could be just the ticket you need to a more profitable future. Koji Kanematsu is the founder of Onigilly Japanese Kitchen, a San Francisco-based franchise introducing Americans to the rice ball snack onigiri. He joined the podcast to talk about the brand's humble beginnings as a food cart, how he had to completely rethink his product to adapt to American palates, and how COVID forced him to focus on a new growth strategy, much to the brand's benefit. If you learn anything from this episode, follow Takeaway wherever you listen and leave some feedback. It's the best way to get that lesson to a fellow restaurant leader. Jumping now into my interview with Onigilly's Koji Kanematsu. Don't forget to stick around after the interview, as I will share my 5 takeaways from this discussion, actionable insights that you can take with you on the go. All right, I'm sitting down with Koji Kanematsu of Onigilly Japanese Kitchen. Koji, thanks for sitting down with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Koji, I know you've got a pretty remarkable story of building this brand and a lot of potential ahead of Onigilly that I want to get into. But I guess I just have to start with your own personal story. Have you always been in food? What's your story? How'd you get into food?
So actually, I was in tech industry before I came into. So I have a very unique experiences and background. During my college years, I worked at a restaurant in Tokyo for 5 years or so. And then after graduation, I joined a tech company. And also I experienced a startup as a co-founder. So, and I was in charge of multiple system development projects. So my way of thinking is how to, systemize everything using IT. So I have a kind of mix of restaurant experience and food experience and tech experiences.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, one on the surface might look at this as left brain, right brain, between tech and the food world. But there are ways. It seems like your tech experience probably especially helps you to build a scalable restaurant. So when you got into opening Onigilly, was there an idea that you wanted to start something that you could scale?
Yeah, so that was the idea still, from the beginning. If I opened one restaurant, I didn't have interest. So I came to the US in 2006. I really wanted to do something, but I wasn't sure. So first I developed the app because iPhone just came in. And then so I thought, oh, the iPhone is coming, so I should do something. But I found it very interesting because, onigiri, I couldn't find onigiri. So when I was in Japan, I used to eat onigiri pretty much every day because it's such a, popular food in Japan and Asia. Why I couldn't find onigiri, that was, a bit surprising thing. Yeah.
So onigiri is a rice ball, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, because we're going to get into this, but Japanese food, especially when it comes to onigiri, I think people's natural inclination is to think sushi, but this is a little bit different. So I think we should set the stage here and tell me a little bit more about the product specifically.
Yeah. So onigiri is like sandwiches in the West, and sushi is more like a special occasion, maybe steakhouse. So you do not go to steakhouse every day, but you eat sandwiches every day. So if you visit Japan and you see steakhouse all over the place, but you cannot find sandwiches, probably you're gonna be surprised, right?
Right.
Yeah.
then you decide you couldn't find any onigiri in San
Hmm.
Francisco. You
Yeah.
figure I might as well do this myself. I mean, did you completely abandon tech and throw yourself into this? What was the transition like to get into then the food service space?
Yeah. So at the beginning, I wasn't that serious, but at some point I thought, oh, this is what I should do. I have to do.
Hmm.
And I got a vision. If I bring onigiri here, people gonna be appreciated because, onigiri is such a convenient food. And I decided to focus on onigiri. And then from the beginning, my vision was to become nationwide concept. Yeah.
When I mean, you opened in 2008, right? And you
Mhm.
started, am I right to say you started with a food cart on the streets of San Francisco?
Yeah, tent. At the first, we got a tent and went to farmers market. And
Gotcha.
then next, food cart. But we didn't, that was, challenging because I'm from Japan. I had no credit history. So when I find a good space, I wanted to open the store, but the landlord and the bank, I couldn't get a approval. NPO, there is a NPO called La Cocina in San Francisco Mission District. And I joined their incubation program. So they are food incubator. And then I got a fund from NPO lender and got a training from La Cocina. And then we got a food cart.
Was the idea here then, if I start in a tent at a farmer's market and then I go to a
Mhm.
food cart, then I open a brick and mortar, that it's just going to get this sort of snowball rolling kind of effect? Was that your mentality? I just need to get this product into people's mouths to get them to discover this, right?
Yeah, yeah. So probably this is coming from my system development background. So I'd like to understand it first very well. So like starting from Excel, I put the Excel and then try to build something. So first I enter manually all the numbers and the data. And then little by little, I'm getting, oh, the whole picture. How should I develop the system? Then automation. But if you get a, fully automated system from the beginning, you cannot fix it later. So I like to do the same way. So I really wanted to do from scratch and all manuals. So tent was a good example. You have to, set up tent every time and you have to have a health inspection pretty much every time. So you know how to fix it even, when the rain comes, you can, wrap it and then go home or, so food cart is the next step, but you can movable. It's a movable, so you can, move the location. If from the beginning, if I had a restaurant space, I cannot, I couldn't move, right? Even I chose a bad location, I couldn't move. So maybe I needed to close the business. But because I was flexible, if location A is not good fit, we can go to location B. Yeah, so that's how we survived. So I think that was a good strategy in such a niche product.
Yeah. So thinking back to your steakhouse sandwich analogy is so helpful for me, because thinking about that sandwich idea, sandwich chains do most of their business at lunch.
Mhm,
Steakhouse chains do most of their business at dinner. I imagine
mhm.
you were targeting that San Francisco lunch crowd, right? Where you was the San Francisco worker the target?
Mhm.
Was downtown San Francisco really the focus?
Yeah, so that was the original strategy. So, and before COVID, we had four locations just in San Francisco Financial District. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you talking about COVID? I mean, you had 12 years of business before COVID. I think something that's remarkable is especially if you think about something like fast casual. Uh,
Mhm.
that industry didn't really take off until 2012, 2013 was when it really kind of hit a zenith, I think, an early zenith. So I guess 2008, I mean, San Francisco is unique because it's such
Mhm.
a creative, forward-thinking market, but I can't imagine you had any competitors doing anything similar to what you were doing. What was the competition like in those days, either from other Japanese concepts or from other fast casual concepts?
So actually, we didn't have a competition because our food was so unique. I thought sushi is a competitor, but you know, after sushi concept opened the location nearby, but our sales didn't affect. So I think sushi and the onigiri, the functionality is different. So in Japan, it's natural. People eat onigiri every day, but sushi is a special occasion because it's a raw fish and they use soy sauce. It's a sit down, but onigiri is like, handy. So from the beginning, we didn't have that real competitor, but the real, challenge is how niche it is. So people are not familiar with onigiri, so people confuse because it's rice and seaweed and something people expect something raw fish, good quality of fish, but what we are serving is cooked seafood and meat and vegetable. So people got confused and some people complains, hey, your sushi is not fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a perception issue, right? And by the way, I
Mhm.
can't help but wonder after talking to you whether we're doing sushi wrong in America because we do sushi. We've got lunch sushi, we've got dinner sushi, we got fancy sushi, not fancy sushi. But that's such a fascinating point because again, sushi being the touch point, you've got a perspective issue. So, was there an education curve that you faced? You're trying to educate people on what traditional onigiri is, and I imagine you just have to serve it to them to get them to understand that.
So yeah, first I thought traditional onigiri can fit. Um, but the reality wasn't. So I, started, but the early stages we couldn't sell that much because I think this is a cultural difference. So Japanese and a lot of Asian countries eat rice as a main thing, but Western rice is a side or not common. Onigiri translation is rice ball. So people think, oh, that's too much rice. I don't want to eat rice that much. It can be side. So I had to adapt to the market, to the American people. So it took 5 years to figure out what is the right onigiri to the American people. So we changed a lot of recipes. We tried over hundreds of fillings. And the most important thing were rice and fillings ratio. So white rice sounds a little, unhealthy food. It sounds better. And people like brown rice, but you cannot eat brown rice every day because digestion. So we use 50% milled brown rice. It's a kind of between brown and white. After that, people are happy to eat. Oh, it's brown rice, but easy to eat.
Mm.
And fillings, in Japanese traditional rice bowl, onigiri, the fillings is tiny. So because you enjoy rice, but the American, it's different. So we put more fillings. So every year we increase the fillings. And like chicken teriyaki, spicy shrimp, garlic bacon, we developed that unique, non-traditional flavors. But the ratio was the key. So after we increased the ratio, at some point we got really popular. So people lined up But before that, we didn't get that much sales.
Mm. Was that hard for you to adapt a traditional product and Americanize it in order to get it to succeed?
Yeah, I think this is because I grew up in Japan for 30 years. So my mind and the way of thinking is totally Japanese, especially early stages. I was, coming from Japan, and then I didn't have, experience in the cultural field. So I thought a lot, but I couldn't get it. Why people are not interested in onigiri. So I went to a lot of Japanese restaurant and even, Asian restaurant, and then found that the flavor is too strong. For Japanese, we like less flavors, but the American people like more flavors. So I changed my lifestyle. So I, use soy sauce for everything to understand what is. So yeah, since then I adapted the American taste and the product adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Koji, on behalf of all Americans, I apologize that you
No.
you probably ruined your palate. We need those big salty and big sweet flavor for our palate. All right, so also to clarify here, so onigiri, rice ball wrapped in seaweed, and it is a handheld, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that must I mean again making that the ideal lunch occasion for the on-the-go worker, drops in, gets it, can maybe eat it on the go, and then you put the toppings. Do you mix the toppings into the rice or put them on top of the rice?
Actually, it's sandwiches. So original.
Literally.
Yeah. Traditionally, it's you make bowl and put inside. The
I see.
fillings should be
Yeah.
inside. But we found it difficult. The same reason because people do not want to eat rice bowl, right? So we changed our product like sandwiches. So we make two triangle patties and then stand it. So we can put more fillings and then people can see from outside what's in there. And from every part, you can taste the flavor because it's sandwiches.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is the number one seller? What are the ingredients people like the most?
People like teriyaki chicken, onigiri, and unagi is a eel. It's common for sushi, but yeah, these are pretty popular.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. Again, you had 4 brick and mortar by the time COVID rolls around. Is that right?
Five. Yeah,
5
we
brick
had
and
a
mortar.
five.
COVID happens, as we were talking before we hit record. San
Mhm.
Francisco hit harder than perhaps any city in America. The downtown San Francisco just completely empties. As you
Mhm.
were saying before, I mean, occupancy in San Francisco hasn't really recovered. So, do you close all restaurants? What happens?
Yeah, so we closed all restaurant after, emergency something. And we thought it's just, 2 weeks or so. So I thought, oh, it's after 2 weeks, we can be back to normal, everything. But it didn't happen. So we closed all locations. And after a few weeks, we reopened 2 locations.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I know that you guys have made this pivot now to mall kiosks.
Mhm.
Did you abandon once you're back post COVID? Was it just clear that brick and mortar wasn't going to work anymore? What made you make that pivot?
So actually, yeah, before COVID, so we were supposed to open the first kiosk location in San Jose in 2020, April. But we couldn't open it. So, and then even at, at that time, shopping center was, they closed, most of the locations and nobody is going to go to shopping center. So we permanently closed for financial district locations, 3 of them. And then we rented a kitchen space in Oakland and outer San Francisco, so a little south side of San Francisco, and we tried ghost kitchens. And because onigiri is so niche, we had a brick and mortar location. People could get it, but with ghost kitchen, it was very hard to market. So we created 4 or 5 different brands, focused it on salad and poke, curry, and even sandwiches and Mexican concept. Yeah, so that was fun actually. Yeah, because we tried a lot of different concepts, and but after 1 year, we closed most of the virtual concept. Some of them did work well, but some of them didn't work well. But we brought all the new menu to onigiri concept. So, of course, Japanese and if whatever fits well in the onigiri. And the one thing that was a good thing was we tried a poke, and we didn't sell, but we developed a sushi onigiri. It's more like a California roll, dragon roll type of onigiri. We didn't sell it, but now we have poke onigiri. It's a raw fish onigiri. After COVID, we reopened some locations and we opened a shopping center location 3 years later. And then we tried a sushi onigiri, and that was a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the combination of combining sushi and onigiri and the shopping center kiosk model is, people like to eat quick and snack. Yeah, so that was.
Well, again, it goes back to meeting expectations, right? That if somebody sees traditional onigiri in a mall kiosk or at a standalone restaurant, 99% of Americans, maybe less so in San Francisco, but 99% of Americans won't get it. But if you say sushi, boom, like they get it. So it's meeting that expectation. I guess if I took a step back too, pre-COVID, what was the trajectory for Onigilly? Did you feel like you were heading toward that kind of national chain thing that you had aspired to?
Yeah, so 2019, we had a investment from private equity to scale. So we just finished supply chain. So we, worked with co-packers to produce fillings at the manufacturer to scale. And we brought a machine from Japan to automate some operations. So we were ready and we were about to start franchising. Yeah, so we thought we can go fast. But I think COVID stopped. But that was a good thing because we had to think about deeply what is what's the important point to scale. Maybe before COVID, our menu was not that popular. I mean, we had a really good traffic from each stores were very profitable and busy. But when you scale to other cities or outside of California, maybe we had struggled really. But COVID happened, we had to adjust, right? You have to sell onigiri in the online world, which is a good exercise.
I mean, San Francisco, I don't have the official data here, but I can venture a guess that it has the highest Asian population in the States, maybe Seattle. But you have that advantage versus you go even to Southern California, I imagine, which we'll talk about because I know that's a goal for you guys. I imagine it's not as much of an Asian population there. And so you don't have people who just get it. Like they just see it and they understand it. So what I'm understanding from you is then you go through COVID, you learn that this food has to be something you can sell online. It has to be more, you have to adjust it to fit that perspective, the understanding of the American consumer. So you come out of COVID now where you have this model of a food court, a food cart, mall kiosk, serving this product. And do you feel like that's a better model compared to what you had pre-COVID?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's much better because before COVID, after 2017, 18, so people, DoorDash, Uber Eats, so people are getting food online. And then storefront had a little struggle. That wasn't that much, but, the, some of the orders coming from online. So we have to pay commissions, right? So the restaurant margin went down a little bit, but um, sh shopping centers, people coming to the shopping center and then get a food. So we still work with DoorDash online orders, but we don't have to rely on. So storefront, you need more, online orders to make it volume bigger because of the change of customers' preferences.
Okay, so you have, is it 6 locations today?
Yes.
6 locations today, all of them mall, or do you have another brick and mortar?
We have 2 brick and mortar. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, as I understand it, you guys are now franchising. You've got Southern California in your crosshairs. It seems like you're back to really seeing this thing as something that you can scale across, if not the West Coast, possibly, the country. What do you think that mall kiosk model is the solution, or do you think that Onigilly is continuing to evolve and adapt according to how Americans kind of perceive it and want to order?
For now, we focus on shopping center because it's easier for us. Because we can set up small 300 square feet kiosk, and our revenue is pretty strong because we can cover lunchtime and snack and dinner, and the shoppers and the mall employees love Onigiri. At the same time, we can do brick and mortar pretty well in College Town, financial district. So eventually we want to be, anywhere. But for now, for us, easy to target shopping center because you don't have to market well. You have good foot traffic. So onigiri is niche, but once people try it, you get it. So we had a visibility.
I mean, you guys, I've seen your numbers here. You're crushing 1.567 million volume that you're doing out of malls. Anybody who's listening to this who has experience in malls know that those numbers are huge in a mall setting. What is key to that? I mean, obviously you serve a great product, but why do you think this is resonating particularly in that setting?
When you go to shopping centers, you don't get that much snack option. You go to food court and you get a food, but it's too heavy. And if you want to get a quick snack, quick bite, pretzel may be the best option, but nothing, savory. And then onigiri, we can serve lunch, we can serve snack, and people just grab 1 or 2 for a snack, and 3 and the side dishes for a meal. So we can cover a lot of demands. So snack, pretzel is probably snack, but not a meal. So that's why our sales is pretty strong with such a small space.
You fit a lot of different occasions. The person who just wants the snack on the go, the person who wants to grab, because you also have bowls, I should say. I'm looking at your menu here. You have bowls. So somebody wants to sit down, have a meal, eat a bowl, they can do that. You have a captive audience in the mall. I've talked to a number of folks on this podcast who are targeting malls specifically for growth again. And it seems like, 5 years ago, well, and especially in the height of COVID, we would have said malls are dead. Nobody goes to malls. We have Amazon. But it does seem like there's a bifurcation that happened with malls where some malls did die, and it was the malls that were very just, here's a bunch of storefronts. The malls that are making it are the ones that are maybe more experiential. They have a better mix of retail experiences on site. Is that what you're seeing too? I mean, I imagine as you're looking to grow and you look more into malls, what do you make of the setting? What do you make of that space, the mall space, and why it fits for a brand like Onigilly?
Yeah, I like mall because yeah, like you mentioned, some malls dead. But the developer, I think, are realizing if you put some money to remodeling some malls and bring more good concept, people are coming to the mall. It's a fun place, and especially during the bad weather, people can still come to the mall. It's the only space you can, yeah, go. So we are expecting more and more shopping centers follow the same way. It can be converted to more residential and a shopping center mixed, or spend some money to, bring more, good tenant. So we have a long list of our target shopping center nationwide. And as long as you choose the right mall, we can do pretty well.
Yeah, sure. All right, I had to ask about the state of Japanese food in the U.S. because, of course, again, going back to Americans' perceptions of food and their education, I think the most Americans will tell you when they think of Japanese food, they jump right to sushi. Of course, there's noodles. Some folks will be more familiar with. Lesser folks may be familiar with like a Japanese curry, but Japanese food has not broken out in a big way in a multi-unit concept. I imagine you saw this when you started Onigiri. You could see like you have, I mean, really Chinese food hasn't figured that out either. You have Panda Express, but Asian food broadly, I think, has really struggled to get roots in on the multi-unit side of things. I'm curious, two parts question. Why is it that Japanese food has not taken off at the multi-unit level? And what do you think Americans' perspective of Japanese food is today in 2025? Are we getting closer to where we can look at an onigiri and say, hey, like I know what that is?
So Japanese concept, there are a lot of chains in Japan. Some of them have 1,000 locations and very successful in Asia, but they fail in the States. Probably their training system, their system is too complicated. So I think Japanese people are very good at taking training, follow the recipes and follow operation. But in the US, there are, the workers, the background is different. So from all over the world, so you have to make it very simple operation. Otherwise, but the Japanese tend to think, oh, this manual can be everyone. But that's not. That for Japanese people, you can do it. But non-Japanese probably is too complicated. So you have to hire chef. You have to hire, skilled, experienced person. And then I realized that, ramen is $20 or $25. But in Japan, it's $8, under 10. And bento concept, it's $20. But in Japan, it's $6. This is because the, labor cost is too high because you have to hire skilled person to maintain the quality. So that might be the challenges. I face the same thing. So at the beginning, because I'm Japanese, so I made a complicated manuals, and people can cook rice like me when you have time, but when busy time, you cannot cook rice correctly. So I have to make an adjustment. So little by little. So that's why we do not cook on site. So everything is from manufacturer. We cook rice, but we automate it. partially automated operation, and then anybody can operate onigiri. Not like Japanese, not like a complicated Asian concept. So I think we can bring a lot of burgers and pizza sandwiches concept. They are very systemized, but the Japanese is difficult to systemize. So then we made it like burgers concept, but it's a Japanese.
Yeah. I mean, you talking about how you've automated some of these processes. Obviously, that makes it great for franchising.
Mhm.
I'm sure you're thinking of that as you're developing these systems. And I think about something like, again, the opportunity for Japanese cuisine in franchising. There's just so much potential where so many communities don't have any kind of traditional Japanese restaurant outside maybe the grocery store sushi. And then you have franchisees who are looking to fill out a portfolio, and this is going to be different than anything else in their portfolio. Who do you see as being that franchisee that's going to be the perfect partner for Onigilly?
We have one franchisee and their Japanese group, and we are working with a few more franchisees. But surprisingly, it's diverse. We thought only Japanese people has interest, but actually we got a wide variety of people from background. But yeah, we'd like to have for our franchisee, we'd like to have same passion because we are not selling fast food. We are not making money from food. We are building environment that people can access to healthier fast food. Most of them come to our, you know, front as a franchisee with the similar passion because they are not looking for just the money. If you want to make just the money, probably you have many other options, but you find Onigiri want to work with us. This is because it's more than something, right?
All right. So what is next for Onigilly? I know, again, you're looking at Southern California, you're franchising. What do you see as being the future for this brand?
Now we are targeting Southern California, and we're gonna open a few company locations in Southern California and franchisee, San Diego. After that, we are targeting all the major cities. It can be pretty quick. We set up supply chain, we have machine inventory, and we have great team of the franchise development. So we can be really quick, but at the same time, we have to be very careful at the same time because our food is, we don't want to confuse people or it's a sushi like we faced at the early stages. But yeah, we are ambitious. It can be quick, but we are cautious. So it's a balance. We cannot go too fast, but too slow because this is a great opportunity and more and more people interested in some Japanese concept and we are scalable. So that's we've been waiting for 18 years.
Yeah. All right, Koji, last question. I mean, you've to your point, here you are 18 years later. You've built this great business that's ready to grow, but you had to pivot. You had some ups and some downs. Some obviously you couldn't predict, like COVID. But, it's been a real journey for you, and here you are now with this great business potential. For those who are listening to this, who are building their own businesses right now, getting them off the ground or scaling or whatever, what is your advice that you have learned in these 18 years about being a restaurant entrepreneur?
I think do not quit. I had a lot of people, I've seen a lot of concept opening and closing. Same thing to me, onigiri could be, first 3 years I could have closed the business because we couldn't sell. If you do not quit and keep improving, you get something. And then after, if you have a passion about something, your concept, you should keep it and then do whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. Koji Kanematsu of Onigilly Japanese Kitchen. Really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam.
That was my interview with Onigilly founder Koji Kanematsu. So, what should you learn from this interview? Here are my 5 takeaways. My first takeaway is that great brands can start in the smallest of footprints. Koji has such an exciting story, a fun story of how he came over from Japan to work at a tech company, but he had this dream of starting an onigiri brand to introduce Americans to that product. But he had to start small. As he pointed out, he didn't have credit. It was hard for him to start any kind of business, let alone a food service business. And so he started very, very small. He started at a farmer's market with a tent. From there, he went to a food court, and then he went to a standalone location. It helped him later on, though, having that farmer's market and food court experience helped him later on having this mall kiosk. So I think it's fascinating because, look, you might think of, oh, I'm starting my business at a farmer's market. It's not very serious. But no, this is a great place to get some real hands-on experience to really understand your business, and you can grow from there. And you never know, much like Koji and with Onigilly, you might come back to those roots with a small footprint location. My second takeaway is that manually operating your brand from the start is the best way to know its true potential. So going back to this idea of Koji running a farmer's market tent, and what that helped him understand. He gave this great story of how he's like, I had to show up. I had to put the tent up every time I was there to serve. I had to get that health inspection basically every time. But I also learned how to be flexible. He learned how to move the tent around if there was bad weather or if there was a better location nearby. As he said, if this business was fully formed from the beginning, if it was fully automated, running itself, he said, I wouldn't know how to fix it later. I love that idea that when you know the ins and outs of how this brand operates, when you know how to manually run this thing, you know how to fix it. You know how to be flexible. You know how to change it. And if you are just given this shiny, well-formed restaurant company on a silver platter, you're not going to understand how to do those things because it might just work. So manually run your restaurant. If you're a leader of a restaurant company, you haven't worked behind the counter, by all means, please go get in the kitchen, get behind the counter, understand how things work so you can know how to fix it. My third takeaway is that it's better to adapt your product to the market rather than wait for the other way around. I apologize to Koji on behalf of Americans. Our palates aren't quite what the Japanese palate is like. And when he came over to the States and he started Onigilly, he started by serving this traditional onigiri product. Americans didn't get it. They weren't crazy about it because it's just a little bit different for that American palate. As Koji pointed out, he said the ratio of fillings and rice was a little bit different. What Americans wanted was a little bit different than what the Japanese traditionally eat. Also, the type of rice was a little bit different. People here in America don't think of having a lot of rice as part of an entree. They might think of it as something that should just be there on the side. And he could have sat there and waited for Americans to come around to this product and to be educated on it. And he could still be waiting today, 18 years later, after he started the business. But he was smart. He adapted his products. He changed that ratio of rice to fillings. He changed the type of rice to do a blend so that Americans were more familiar with the type of rice that was being served. And he said that over the course of 5 years, he really just adapted that product to something that Americans could really love and enjoy and understand. And then sales went up. Don't sit around waiting for your customers to understand your product. It might be that they never will. Adapt your product to fit that expectation that they have. I'm not saying that if you have a global product that you should, dumb down the authenticity. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you have to sometimes meet in the middle. If you're a global concept especially, you have to meet in the middle with the American palate to get American customers to understand it. My fourth takeaway is that you should embrace the opportunity for a brand reset. That's the crux of the story here with Onigilly, is that it started as a tent in a farmer's market and then was a food cart. And then it became standalone brick and mortar. But now here they are as a mall kiosk. They're franchising, they're ramping up growth, they're growing into Southern California. And Koji is expecting much more growth beyond that. But it wouldn't have happened without this brand reset, because when they got to that point pre-COVID where they were opening standalone brick and mortars, Koji kind of just thought that that's the direction he was going to go in, have this sushi style fast casual restaurant and, grow it beyond San Francisco. But COVID forced him to rethink, reset, much like the rest of us, in this country. We all had to sort of rethink how we do things. But it was a drastic reset for Onigilly because it changed the entire model of how this business reaches customers. And at the end of the day, now that it's doing so successfully in these mall kiosk formats and selling franchises that way, it turns out that that model that he reset to was what the brand needed. That could be the same for your own brand. If things feel flat, things feel like they're not going like you want them to go, it could be that you need a big reset. My fifth and final takeaway is that if you believe in your brand, you cannot afford to quit. This was such a great piece of advice there at the end from Koji, where he said his advice to anybody is don't quit. He's been doing this now for 2 decades. He's been building this Onigilly brand. And just now, he's really on the cusp of something big with growth outside the Bay Area, with franchising, with potentially growing this thing into something much, much bigger. But it took him a long time to get the model right, to figure out what Americans wanted out of the brand, to figure out what the menu should be. If he had quit in those first 3 years when nothing was really working like he thought it would, he wouldn't be here. Maybe he'd just be back at a tech company. Who knows what Koji would be doing? But the point is like he believed in this product. He believed in the concept. He believed Americans deserve to try a product like onigiri. And he was right. It just took a lot of time. You cannot quit. Those are all my takeaways for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe to Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave your feedback. You can also email me at sam.oches@informa.com. Thanks again and talk to you next week.